Alright, so let's continue ranking corporations for Terraforming Mars. And we're up to Turmoil, so we're getting there in terms of finishing. Hopefully by the time I'm done, Prelude 2 will come out. And we can just chain that in. And I have a bunch of videos when that happens. But until then, yes, let's just continue. So you can check my first video for a full description of each tier and sort of the rules. But just to do a quick summary, the best are corporations that I feel like you basically have a very small chance of winning if you play against them. They're basically broken, right? Always solid are corporations that, like it says, are always solid. Like I usually never have a bad game with these corporations. High corporate potential are corporations that you can, like, if you get a bad hand, you can have a mediocre game. If you get a good hand, then you have a really good game with them. And then playable, I mean, the tag says it, playable. Needs a hand, unlike high combo potential, needs a hand. If you get a bad hand with them, then you just lost, basically. And if you get a good hand with them, you might not be absolutely broken. And then needs the hand are basically that, but just the hand is very unlikely. And right now we only have one there, but yeah. And then unplayable, this is just full of hatred for me. I just hate these corporations and think they're incredibly weak. And yeah, let's get started with Turmoil, the low-key other broken expansion for corporations in Terraforming Mars besides Prelude. And let's start with a really good one, Lakefront. So you start with an insane amount of cash in 54. Your bonus is every time an ocean is played, you gain 1 production, and whenever you place something adjacent to an ocean, instead of 2, you get 3. Now the second bonus feels like very small, but it actually adds up to somewhere between 10 and 20 if you play it right, which is high. And the other bonus, it's very changing. Like you see sometimes a few oceans go fast and the other ones go slow because the asteroids get a lot more efficient for oceans as you go on. But you're basically guaranteed 9 production by the end of the game. And so that, together with the flexible starting capital, I mean, obviously you want to do ground game, but you're actually just pretty flexible. I think it's always solid. Now, I don't think it's better than Aridor. Even though you have 14 more cash, there's 2 things Aridor does better, and that's the tax. That bonus like scales up way faster than Lakefront for the most part, and then you can also bring Pluto into the game to go with your insane economy or whatever colony you need with your starting hand, which is sort of an underrated Aridor thing, right? So I don't think it's as strong as Aridor, but I do think it can be stronger than Terractor, and I think you're much less dependent on your hand because oceans are going to be played, right? It gives you a building tech, which is nice. And the other thing that I think is so annoying about Lakefront when you're playing against it, obviously, is how inevitable it is. Like, you know, you pick your ocean preludes or you get Articalgi in your opening hand and you see the other player put down Lakefront and you just know, like, you can't now avoid it. Like, you'll have to play. You're not gonna swallow Great Aquifer for, like, right, you're gonna play it. Now you're giving him the same production you get from starting, and maybe he'll place a tile next to your oceans and gain a nice 6 cash. So it's the same thing with Articalgi now, and that one's different because it's not that you're gonna give him money; it's that you play Articalgi, and now people are gonna be really reluctant to play oceans, which is bad for both of you, but worse for you, right? So that inevitability, like the way it changes the game, like very few corporations do, like maybe the Tharsis or Saturn are the other ones that like prevent players from doing things earlier than you usually do. Yeah, I think it's a little better than Terractor. Of course, Terractor with a really heavy Earth tag hand is better. So the Terractor has a higher ceiling, but I think Lakefront has a higher floor and the ceiling is not so much lower. Additionally, because we're talking about Turmoil, probably Mars first is the party for you. I don't think it makes it significantly better or worse, but you do have the tag, and you like getting an extra steal from placing next to oceans, which you want to do often, is good. But let's talk about now my favorite corporation in this expansion, and that's Pristar. So let's for now put Pristar here in Always Solid. I'm gonna put it here, and let me just so Pristar starts with 53, so pretty much the same as Lakefront, -2 TR, which is really bad. But then whenever you don't terraform, you get a victory point and 6 cash. And I've done a math video on Pristar, you can check it out there. And basically, I think this is one of the best bonuses in the game. Why? Because you get your cash very early. It's a front-loaded bonus, and then it's just so much money early. And then you're also getting victory points, right? And you're probably doing that by playing the most efficient economy cards, because terraforming cards are less efficient than straight-up income cards, right? So yeah, I just think it's really good. Now, you could say, like, the base case scenario for Pristar that I usually give is, like, you don't terraform the first 3 generations, then do a bunch of terraforming steps on the 4th, then not terraform for 5, 6, 7, and then 8, 9, and 10, you just nuke the crap out of Mars, throw all your asteroids, put all your greeneries. And so in that way, you're basically not terraforming for 6 out of the 10 generations, which means you get 36 cash and 6 victory points. But of course, you have to take into account the fact that you start with -2 terraforming rating, which is basically in 10 generations, it means you get 18 less income. Right, because your Gen 1 income, there's no Gen 1 income, right? So for generations 2 through 9, you're going to get 18 less, so your economic bonus there is only 36. And this is why, for the most part, I wouldn't rank it any higher. However, well, there's 2 things that need to be considered. One, you're not just getting a high income and a bonus of 18, which would be shitty, because you're also getting 6 points, and if you value each point at around 5 or 4, which is as good as a point gets, then 6 points is 30 more, right? So yeah, your bonus, like, you could say it's 48, but the other thing that we need to consider when talking about Pristar is the Reds. Pristar is, after all, a Turmoil corporation, and if you're playing with the Reds, then I'm just gonna do that, because you're often gonna be the worst, the lowest terraforming rating in the game, and that's probably gonna mitigate these 2 things, right? You put the Reds in 3 times, you're probably actually gaining a terraforming rating at some point overall. And the thing is, no one usually puts the Reds at the end, which is when they're terraforming, so you're like basically getting these 2 TR back probably just by putting them twice in there. So that really just changes, like, your bonus almost back to 36, depending on which generations you get them in there. It's not hard to do with Gen 2 and 4, for example. But then, more importantly, you also make it so much painful for every other player to terraform, because of the Reds' policy, which is you pay 3 to terraform. Like, it's hell for UNMI, for example, and this corp is sort of reverse UNMI, and it just kicks the crap out of UNMI whenever it plays UNMI. And so if you're playing with Turmoil, which I absolutely recommend with Pristar, although not required, then I think this falls into the best tier. It's just like they're just too good at preventing rusher players from rushing, which is something that Point Luna and Vitor can't do. Manutech might actually rush. Manutech is more flexible than Point Luna and Vitor. They don't really need the, like, they can just decide to outrush the rushing player because they're Manutech. But Point Luna and Vitor really need long games, and when you rush them, that's sort of their weakness. Pristar might not have as strong as bonus as them, but they can actually be very painful for the... Now, of course, you can also get the Reds with Vitor and Point Luna, but Pristar just usually gets more from it, right? Because from not terraforming. And so they're usually going to be the lowest terraforming rating. And so yeah, that's the thing that's what I really like about them. They deal very well with terraforming players. And speaking of broken, so you saw my math video last week, maybe Septem Tribus. Now, obviously, you can always play this with Turmoil, so there's nothing else to consider. But yeah, this economic bonus is insane. If you don't want to check the math video, I made a comparison, and if you might maximize this bonus, you get 99 cash throughout the game. And just so you have an idea of how insane that is, if you play all 11 tags with Aridor in Gen 1, you get 99 cash from its bonus throughout the game. So that's how insane Septem Tribus bonus is. Now, it does have pretty low starting cash. I'm actually gonna... But like Vitor is a very close comparison. Because you do get a lot from this bonus. You can easily get like 40. Well, I mean, it's a multiple of 3, so you're not going to get 40, but 39, 42. And then you start with a little more cash. You start with 48, because these victory point symbols counts. So you start with 12 more, but you're never going to get higher than that. Now, the drop side to Septem Tribus is that it's harder to influence elections because you only have 7 delegates, and so if you have 6 in different parties, then you're probably not going to win a lot of chairmans. But actually, you can have just 5 in different parties, and I think that came out to an 84 total cash if you basically just ignore one party throughout the game and just keep a total of 5. In each, a total of 5 parties with delegates, you get 84 throughout the game if you optimize the way to do that, and now you have 2 extra delegates every generation to influence elections, which is usually enough. Three delegates on one party plus a few neutrals usually is gonna win that generation's election. So yeah, you totally can still get a broken bonus and influence elections and get victory points for being chairman, you know. So I'm actually going to put it ahead of Beat Vitor. I'm reluctant to put it ahead of Manutech or Point Luna, just because I've won so much with these two on Steam, and I might reevaluate actually if Turmoil ever makes it, because I do think this economic bonus is insane. But yeah, Septem Tribus. So I think we pretty much completed this tier, by the way. These are to me the best corps in the game. I might be being a little too... I like Pristar a lot, so maybe I'm being a little biased. But I do think it's really good, and it's just broken with the reds. But yeah, not everything is great in Turmoil. There's Terralabs, and I don't know what they were thinking. It just needs the hand. You basically need 2 cash preludes. You need loan and donation to make this corp work. And if you get those 2, you're kind of... well, better than loan, probably supply drop. But supply drop and donation, this corp is very playable. And so let's just see what it does. You pay 1 for cards, but you start with 14 cash. So you can actually buy your hand and keep 4 cash. And you should, because you would sell them for 1. So basically with Terralabs, those are the besides the economic advantage, there are advantages that you can buy every card, and you can stall and do everything at the end of the generation, pretty much every generation. So I mean, that's the other thing. It's incredibly annoying to play against. I usually never see anyone pick this just because it's so you just want to choke whoever is playing it. And the other thing is that there's no decision making when it comes to the cards, because you can always buy it, and then if you don't need it, just sell it, right? And you're basically just deciding what to sell every generation so you can play other cards. It also starts with a minus terraforming rating, so that's bad too. The tags are good. Earth and Science, I really like those tags, so that might help with income or more card draw. But you really don't need card draw, you just need economy, so it's nice that it has an Earth tag. But yeah, I just think if you, you're basically dead if you don't draw a cash prelude. And then there are other things, like definitely take the loan, that card, or indenture workers or conscription. All of those cards can kind of save this corporation. But I do think you need the hand, and it's worse than Phobolog. Like, the hand is more rare than the hand that Phobolog needs. It is not safe by any parties. I mean, Unity helps because you have an Earth tag, and you're probably the only thing you want to play at the beginning are Earth tags, so you can catch up on income. And the other thing, it's impossible to rush with these corporations. So if you play Terralabs and you get a corporation that you need to rush, like a Vitor, not only are you like 5 tiers behind, but the only way to beat Vitor or Point Luna is to rush them, and you have no chance of ever rushing a game. You basically cannot invest in heat or plants early. It's too expensive. You have to like focus. I'm gonna drop it. Fuck it. It's unplayable. Yeah, I can't. I don't hate it as much as these 3 because I think it's a nice idea, but I just think had they gone for 2 cash and a decent amount here, then that would have been a lot better. Because all this does is like really simplify the decision making, because you don't have to ever think if you're gonna buy a card. You can just like sell it, and then it's also really shitty. So you're just gonna lose anyway. So yeah, it's unplayable. It's unplayable. Like, even if you get the 2 preloads I mentioned, then you're basically 2 preloads behind, because that just gets you to like a normal corporation, and it's gonna take a while to catch up on your bonus, right? A real long while to catch up, but while buying cards, because you usually you buy 5 cards early, so you've saved 10. The first generation, of course, you're gonna buy 10, but then you're gonna sell 5, right? And then say you buy 2 every other generation. Again, you're gonna buy 4, but you're gonna sell 2 probably to play cards. So if that's the average, by the 6th generation, you've bought 10 cards, and that means you've saved 20 cash, which would make you a 34 starting corporation with a minus terraforming rating. So it's awful. It's just awful. Now, by the end of the game, you save a bunch of money, especially if you're like keeping 3 cards per generation. So say you keep 3 cards every generation and 5 at the beginning. That's 27 plus 5, 32 times 2, 64. You save 64 cash, but you start with 14. And like, if you remember, all of these economic bonuses here, they all, like, a lot of them give you that much. Like Vitor might give you, like I said, 40, but you start with 30 more. This one gives you 90 on a bad day, and you start with 22 more. Pristar gives you 36, but you start with 40 more, basically, right? So like you're just years away from that. You're years away from like everything in this tier even. So yeah, I say unplayable. Now finally, the one that was hardest to rank for me was Utopia Invest, and I have little experience with it, but I think it's always solid. And I'm gonna put it behind Chongqing. I think this is ultimately, I mean, the thing is, you start with 5 production, and that's 50. Sorry, if you play 10 generations, it's 45. Which again, remember how shitty this is. It's 45. The thing is, you're not gonna have really an action for the first probably 7 generations, right? You're gonna start, 6 generations. You're gonna start using this ability in the 7th generation, assuming you go 10. So it is a little weakened by that, but then it actually starts getting stronger and stronger, and in the last generation is probably an extra greenery even. You can probably get like 5 plants and 2 or 3 titanium from your bonus. I usually pop titanium, plant at the end of the game, and otherwise you don't use your bonus unless you need to claim an emergency milestone or something like that, but you are hitting yourself long term, right? So it's nice that you have an out when you misplay and you need to claim a milestone or you lose it, but you are sort of weakening your late game, right? But I think ultimately the 5 production and 40 cash, which is slightly below average but decent, it's enough. I don't think it's stronger than Chongqing. I think this bonus, like, together with this bonus, like playing one steel tech a game gives you 5 per generation, right? Sorry, 1 steel tech per generation, The first generations, it gives you as much as this, and it's all cash, so it's much more flexible, and you have 4 more starting money. So I think Chongqing is definitely better than Utopia, but you just can't ignore the production, and it's always solid because, I mean, these are really flexible resources. The bonus just goes with everything. You can, I mean, titanium and plants, the 2 best resources, are usually the 2 best things to pop off the last 3 or 4 generations, and the starting cash is different. So yeah, always solid for Utopia. And yeah, as you can see, Turmoil had 2 always solid and 2 in the best. Pretty much as good as Prelude, except that Prelude didn't have Terralabs. But yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed my video. Let me know what you think, and see you next time.